Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, transforming the way people think and work so their organizations can thrive. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Ed Kless, and with me today is Bharat Kanodia. Bharat has appraised over 2,000 businesses and signed off on assets worth $2.6 trillion in value. His appraisal is unique. He's appraised unique assets like the Golden Gate Bridge, the Atlanta Airport, Uber, Airbnb, Yahoo, the Brooklyn Bridge, Mirage Casino Las Vegas, and many others. Bharat is the founder of Veristrat, a company that helps create startups and VCs by telling them what their companies are worth, and is a board member of the American Society of Appraisers. His latest endeavor is his YouTube channel, What's It Worth? He lives in San Francisco Bay Area with his family. Welcome to the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast, Bharat.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate you having me.
Well, first off, why do you do what you do?
I actually feel very blessed for what I do because every time I do a project or an engagement, it's something new. And I have to become an expert at the industry or the asset that I'm appraising overnight. Otherwise, I'm not doing my job. So if I'm appraising an airport, or if I'm appraising a building, or if I'm appraising a dam or a power plant or Uber or Yahoo, one of these companies, I need to become an expert in that industry and know everything about that company, sometimes even more than the CFO. Otherwise, I'm not doing my job. And that's what keeps me engaged.
Why are these valuation things such a mystery? Why is this shrouded in what seems like hocus pocus in a lot of ways?
Oh, it very much is. We joke around that valuations is a dark art in a dark room in a black box, and people in my world have designed it this way. We call it job security. No, but the reason valuation is such a dark art is because at the end of the day, it's an opinion. And if you like that blue shirt that you're wearing, Ed is wearing a blue shirt, who is to ask you that, hey, why, Ed, why do you like that blue shirt? Somebody else may like the same blue shirt for a different reason. Some may like blue shirts, but not the one Ed is wearing. So everybody's got a different opinion. At the end of the day, valuation is just a perspective. And my job is to understand why people have that perspective. Once I'm able to quantify why people have that perspective, my job becomes easy. So, for example, if a company is pre-IPO, it has multiple valuations. It might have an accounting valuation, it might have a tax valuation, it might have an investment valuation. In an ideal world, you would think they would be the same, but it's never the case. It's kind of like looking at my phone. You're looking at the back side, I'm looking at the front side, somebody's looking at the top side. It's the same phone, but everybody's got a different vantage point.
And when you're doing stuff like this, because I remember a story 20, 30 years ago, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I believe, paid $1.2 million for a set of golf clubs that were owned by John F. Kennedy. So if you're going to assess what these golf clubs are worth, are you looking for the perspective of what is the maximum one person or a group of investors will pay? Or are you looking for what is the likely price of an asset that's when it's going to be sold, not knowing who the particular potential buyers are?
We have to work within guardrails. Otherwise, if we don't work within guardrails, the value could be anything, between $1 and $1 billion, pick a number. So what we do is we define a few parameters for ourselves so that we can come within a certain range. So we might say, a potential buyer may be a similar manufacturing company that might be looking to expand their operations in Texas, or a potential buyer might be a venture fund that is looking to invest more into e-commerce companies. So we have to put some guardrails around it. And then once we put those guardrails, we try to figure out that, okay, what are similar buyers paying for such assets? So we're trying to drill deeper and narrower as we try to come to the right answer. One thing is for sure, I almost never opine on a point estimate. I never say that, okay, your business is worth $12 million, 50,000 and 300 something. If I'm doing that, I am lying. I am bullshitting because I'm just not that good. I would always give a range. I would say your business is probably worth between 12 and 13 million. And even that is a pretty narrow range.
Sure. So because we have challenges. I remember when WhatsApp, for example, was purchased by Facebook 4 or 5 years ago. It was I'm not remembering the exact price, but it was in the billions. So it's called 19 billion. Thank you. And I have to think that the assessed value of that was nowhere near 19 billion, especially if you look at the balance sheet or income statement. It maybe there was $19 million of retained earnings in that company. Maybe there probably wasn't.
There weren't even that.
So the question that I have is and a friend of mine coined this said, he says, when they purchase this company for $19 billion and they close out the books, they have to post the accounting entry somewhere, right? And it goes to retained earnings. And his phrase is, retained earnings is what accountants define as their ignorance. Why are accountants so ignorant when it comes to valuations, when otherwise they really should be experts in it, but they all shy away from it?
So accountants are looking at historic data. Finance professionals are looking at forward-looking data. And valuation is an exercise in the present. So valuations, we're looking at historic data and we're looking at forward-looking data, and we're really bridging the gap that, okay, based on what we see, the history, we're estimating the future, and this is where this company is today. And my team, and this transaction happened in 2014 or 15, if I recall, the WhatsApp transaction, and it was $19 billion. And one of the exercise I had done with with my junior analysts, I have fun with them sometimes. So I asked them to take that transaction for a spin and tell me how that transaction makes sense. Not trying to be facetious or anything. I was just telling them that, okay, why do you think Zuckerberg paid $19 billion for it? I mean, they couldn't figure it out because their revenue was like $1 million or something less than that. They had like 35 or 40 engineers. They didn't even have that much invested capital, but it just grew like wildfire. And the big reason why it grew because of the international base. And that's why Facebook really bought it, because WhatsApp was occupying more real estate than Facebook. And what real estate am I talking about? This real estate.
Real estate on the phone.
The real estate on the phone. And that's what WhatsApp purchased. Facebook purchased. Yeah.
Facebook. Well, Bharat, we have an exit question that we ask all of our guests, and that is, who is a hero of yours and why are they a hero?
Oh, no question. Teddy Roosevelt. TR. He was a man of action. They did things back then. He was the only man who took on the coal coalition. He took on JP Morgan. He wasn't afraid. And he was an outdoorsman, which I fancy myself to be, but I'm not. He wasn't afraid to take the bull by the horns.
And lastly, how can somebody contact you?
Easiest way to reach me is to go to my YouTube channel, What's It Worth? The link for that will be in the show notes. And there is a link to our inquiries page, or you could always just email me directly at bkanodia@veristrat.com. I get questions from people around valuations all the time. And the best part about my job is to educating people. More people know about valuations, especially knowing that nothing about valuations is absolute, the better we'll all be.
His YouTube channel is What's It Worth? Bharat Kanodia, thanks so much for being a guest on the Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate you having me.
Review and subscribe by searching your podcast player of choice for Sage Thought Leadership Podcast.